She then starts floating on some kind of earthen platform, and manifesting launchers to fire yellow arrows out of. Easily hundreds of them, and the two of them are forced to dodge. However, one of them falls into Ael's planned trap and sticks her with arrows coming from the ground, significantly injuring them and making them unable to move. Not wasting any time, or making a speech, she makes a big arrow projectile in her hand, while the other arrows are firing and chucks it at their soul, intending to kill, but that angel is knocked out of the way by the other, and it hurts her foot instead. The fire attracts the other army angels right away, and Ael has to maneuver out the way of all their hits using the platform, afraid of taking a hit and ruining her whole tune. The purple-haired one notices her. Ael, why the fuck did you betray us? We were your friends, for over 500 years. Because I drew the line at being a genocidal maniac a long time ago, and none of you listened. Long ago, a conversation, while they were stuck in the meteor occurs. It seems like we hit land. Probably our nightmare. So, what do you think we should do? Numin was always the wisest of us all. And the one who probably knows about this sector. We should make her leader. Valil mentions. Good call. Numin, what do you say we should do? I'd say, find a way to break this thing open, then kill anything that's hostile to us. Even people. Why so? The purple-haired one asks. I'm sure we are all aware of the idea of level of violence, right? The more you kill, the stronger you get. It would apply to mortals, and since we are fallen, it'd apply to us. So, in order to get as strong as we can, we have to kill everything. What? That's absurd. That's probably why we became fallen in the first place, because we obsessed over mortal things like revenge. Ael seriously objects. I'm with you on breaking this meteor, but from there on in, I'll only help if they are aggressive, you got that? And what on earth are you going to do? You're practically the second weakest behind Miss Lavender over there. Hey, fuck you. You know, I'd rather go down atoning for my past sins than living and becoming an irredeemable atrocity. The more warlike angels scoff and laugh at this, and the more peaceful ones, afraid of being made fun of, also join in. Not really caring, Ael continued her studies. Throughout then, she was picked on a lot by the others, all of them believing Numin to be a hero. Valil just watching. But now, free of the meteor, she's here to do exactly as she said, and she's glad the Bliths were kind enough to grant her this strength. In fact, she felt that she used to fight like this, but she wasn't even sure if that was true. After all, magic could only be returned to a fallen angel through the flower, or by killing so many beings and taking their souls, that you just go insane. She knew, because she was the researcher who told Numin things. Ael then quickly used her arrow magic to make the others dodge, making two portals, where they just flooded in, forcing them into a perpetual jump rope, while she made a point to fight Lavina, the purple-haired one. Enough games, you really wanna fight so badly? So, aren't you going to use your real form? You know, to make things fair? I'm not a fucking idiot, that make me a huge target. But your only other choice is to die, so take anything you can get honestly. Are you implying you even can? Sure, what, if I am? Ael shrugs. Lavina, pissed, then transforms, becoming a monstrous entity, hands turning into metal feathers, facing contorting into a singular, black and white eye, and the body getting enormously huge. Feathers also come out of her back, seemingly out of some kind of unseen material. The feet also malform into a crab's legs, arms of human hands coming out of it, all seemingly coming alive. Immediately upon seeing, some of the villagers become blind and feel, as if all their sins have come to haunt them. It would be the last thing they'd ever see. So, this is what you wanted, wasn't it? Well, come on then, fight me. The battlefield then turns into a rain of arrows and purple lightning, fires starting all over and explosions everywhere. During the fight, a stray arrow thrown shatters a distant moon in another solar system. But, soon, Ael figures something out. So, as I thought, you can only use your soul abilities. Looks like I was banking on the right info. 4 arrows form, then come together to form some kind of strange wheel, which then blasts a huge ray, destroying Lavina, and leaving the soul there. The other angels have gotten through the distraction by now, and are trying to prevent Ael from getting the soul, but she does. However, instead of using it for power, she uses it to restore the villages destroyed by them, and any living person's eyesight. See? I don't go crazy with power. Power's overrated anyway. But then she gets punted by Numin, who finally joins the fight. You were saying, you little disgrace? Towering over her, and knocking her out of her groove, Ael gets up and tries to continue, but her arrows are deflected no problem through sheer speed alone. Even trying to lock her in a gerbil ball of arrows doesn't work, since Numin's able to just phase out of it with sheer speed. The fight seems utterly futile, with the other angels even joining in, making this a lot harder, and she ends up bloodied and on the ground. However, she forgot to mention something, and she chuckles. You know, arrows aren't the only thing I have up my sleeve. Too bad I had to be like this to use it. Wait, what? All of a sudden, many boulders fly everywhere, as well as meteors, while a platform takes her away from the impending impact. And to make sure they stay there, hyper-fast quicksand. She's lucky they broke her magic organ, otherwise she would have died right then and there. The whole plains area is destroyed and seared from how destructive everything was, and she notices that the climate even shifted. But, to her horror, Numin blocked everything, something she was sure could take out at least a few angels. And it seemed like her face began to distort. Oh no. Has she already gotten to that point? To keep herself going, Ale made an outer arrow spine, desperately hanging onto the platform, throwing boulders and arrows in an attempt to buy time for the villagers to run. All of a sudden, she was beginning to crack. Ha, you broke your limits to attempt to stop us, but turns out you couldn't kill anything but a runt. Numin mentions. Alright, I'll make this quick. No fooling around anymore. She then turns her hand into the same black metal feathers and shoots them at Ale, who has to move out of the way, a few landing actually, making her bleed. Ale was so busy dodging that she didn't notice the feathers were leading her right to Numin, who then grabbed her and proceeded to choke the life out of her. The only thing that saved her was using soul magic to blast Numin's hand off. And she could only use this thing twice. She was banking on that, and now she has no chance to catch her off guard with it. So, planning to blow ourselves up, are we? How silly. Numin laughs. I didn't know you cared about what we did that much. You ruined your chance to escape with that. Ale thinks for a moment. Thinking about what Heaven's probably doing, how the other angels are watching, probably laughing, or not caring. She was nothing but a criminal to them anyway. But, as she began to crack even more, she actually remembered why she was cast out. In a lab, she attempted to finally make the demonkind and the kingdom of heaven to stop fighting, finding it utterly pointless and mortal-like. Through a potion she made. Her plan was to use it on the Almighty God, her boss, to instill forgiveness towards the denizens of hell in him. She saw her comrades die in a pointless war eons ago, and, having met someone from the other side, they were almost the same. The exception is that she was a monstrous amalgamation with eyes and feathers, that being what angels are, and the demon was like a human. However, knowing this plot from the very start, he allowed her plan to start, and to be called for a feast with a few other angels. He shamed her immediately for even trying to betray the kingdom of heaven and poison him. The other angels were shocked she'd even try that, thinking she was no better than the demon stereotype they had in their heads. Then, with one flick of a finger, point. Remembering it all now. Ale cried, very sliently. God is cruel. And despite his teachings, maybe the other angels had a point to hate him, but never to genocide. That only made them just as bad as he was. Knowing she had to at least make her last moments special, before she's erased for good. She then got up, then, bleeding from all her cracks profusely and nearly about to explode from a magic overload, leaves a huge crater on the ground from how fast she was going, slamming her fist against Numin, sending her flying, then appearing behind her to do so again, and again, and again, over and over, and with every hit, a portal full of arrows covered them both, with Numin too confused and distracted to even notice what's going on. Did she? Is she serious? Does Ale want to do this so badly that she's willing to kill herself to prove a point? After all that time together? Soon, a whole cube is formed and a swarm of boulders then cover that cube. And then, Ale prepares to blow herself up, as she is beginning to be able to move and immensely hurting and screaming in agony. Well, regardless of whether or not I do it, you're damned to a void of nothingness, and I don't care if I have to go with you to make it happen. Numin is actually visibly afraid of this burst of energy. I am going to blow you to bits and prevent this universe from being destroyed by your own greed. Point. And then, as her face cracks in half, and Numin's drop of blood hits the floor of the cube. Ultimate Genesis. Ale calls it out, being her strongest attack. Numin ends up screaming, as the blast is about to arrive to her. The explosion destroys the cube, and then releases a huge mid-air explosion, send a shockwave throughout the whole planet. The other angels have to grab onto the closest thing to avoid being blown away. Akant immediately notices the sacrifice upon the explosion and quickly calls out to her. Ina just can't seem to handle what's going on. Eventually Ale's body falls to the ground, in half. But then she wakes up. and to her horror, realizes she hasn't died. She sees Numin's true form, somehow looking more humanoid than it does. Angel. The level of violence is affecting things. Just kidding. She says, before she makes a point to torture the left half of Ale, who can't move at all. After 5 minutes of pure hell straight, Ale dies to blood loss, Numin having tried out her true form. However, curious, if ingestion of a dead angel causes things to happen, and a way to spite Ale. Numin eats her body and her soul. She doesn't get smaller, but she notices her wounds have healed, as well as a feeling. However, Akant didn't have time to grieve over the loss of an angel who had seemingly turned a new leaf. Or the horror of Numin's true power, that which he now knows he'd be making himself into a coffin, if he went alone. Even worse, he could feel the anguish of every soul she absorbed and killed. Because the traitors came, ready to kill. A few bliths died, before he even noticed, and by the time he did. Hey, stop his foolishness. It's you, that damn messenger, by the sun god, we shall offer your head to him in exchange for glory. Seemed they didn't want to talk their way out of this. Fine by him. He then proceeds to seemingly outfoot to sword them in every way, without them even having a clue of what's going on, all of them being put into a pile of unconscious solidars. When the arrows followed, Akant didn't even have to use his magic to move out of the way. The harpoon bows, though, one did land, mostly due to battle inexperience on Akant's end. However, he simply cuts the line and keeps the harpoon there to stop the bleeding. When a soldier came to chop his head off, while he was taking on a shieldsman, he stopped, put his hand to the soldier's chest, then jammed his stomach hard with a strong punch that was only reeled back a few inches. He cleaned most of them up, and made them rethink their plans. But his mercy only damned him even further, for the leader had already slit Akantu's throat. And, feeling an indescribable rage, seemingly killed him by ripping out his head. But before he could even feel relieved. So, you did it. Your first time killing a Bliffusic inhuman monster, how the fuck does it feel? Akant then shuts him up by slicing his head in half, making sure to do the job. Even worse than you could ever imagine. He says to the corpse, as the other men cower and immediately surrender. As they say, the rage of a gentle person is rivaled to absolutely none. He spots the soul leaving that leader's body, but, as he's about to shatter it too, infuriated that they not only betrayed their confederation, but took the coward's way out and used psychological manipulation to try to weaken him. He doesn't deserve even hell. But then Ina stops him. Stop. You did enough. I don't even agree with what you did at all, but... He, realizing what had come over him, immediately apologizes. Still crying and angry, even pounding the ground. He was no better than them in the end. Maybe you could use this chance to not hurt people anymore. Don't let your father down. Akant ends up agreeing, remembering to a conversation his dad told him about. Son, Ina, is truly the best out of all of us. Good in all things, always forgiving. Even a bit naive at times. You ask me, she never did deserve to be sent away from heaven like that. Alone for so many years. Wait. She was alone? Yes, she actually told me about it. Instead of trying to get out or go on avenging, she rolled herself in a ball and asked, why her? All she felt was sadness, and she could sense our fear as well, but not where it was coming from. For so long? For centuries, her best friends were all imaginary, using it all to cope with the despair. She didn't have real friends to bounce off of. But, considering who was in the other meteor, maybe that was a good thing. As she's still seeing them. There wasn't a day where she couldn't see them all until you brought the Vatagia. I believe it actually healed her mind to how it was before that seemingly eternal, maybe even enhanced it. Akantus smiles. Funnily enough, she had an imaginary friend who looked exactly like you. You're telling me it's possible that she surrendered because a version of me appeared before her and soothed her in the past? Akantus nods. So, well, she finds you to be prophetic, something she can't afford to let go astray, because she knows how bad it is for her, but how awful it would be for Blithkind. Akantus puts his hand on Akant. Don't ever hurt her. I mean it. But Dad, you're never this Threadanian. His stern look immediately gets Akant to shush. Now, in the present, Akant takes a day to himself, and to also give his father a proper burial, still sobbing. Soon after, he meets with Ina, who's decently chubby at this point for some reason. We need another person to be able to use magic, if we want to stand a chance at all. Ina is a bit surprised, thinking that he could get the job done, given a few years. Hey. Why don't you just train? Because I feel like, if I do, I'd be putting excrement all over both Ale and my father. letting even more blips by, because I felt like I wasn't strong enough. He says, might as well be what hell is. But, I have faith in you. Besides, something bad might happen. The beads were made from an evil soul, so, there should be no concern for someone being tainted by it. I know, because I talked to it. But, I dunno, this is my first time even doing something like that. If too many people use it, it could end up badly. He then puts a hand on her shoulder, utterly shocking her. It was started by you. That's how come I can trust it. Akanpai. She just hugs him. It was exactly what she, not as an angel, but as a person, wanted to hear so badly. And she smiled, all while Valia wonders why the heck they're being so lovely Dove. Point. Angels these days. Akan's first choice is to hand it to Shiai. He's already a skilled tactician, as is, and could learn the ins and outs much faster than he could. So, later on, during evening. Oh hey Akant. Heard your father died. I'm sorry I had to make you go through that. It's okay. You wouldn't have known. But, Akant then offers him a bead. Here, take this. Wait, why? You're aware that I have no time for this. I have to try and save whoever's lost. Thrust me. Shiai. Nervous this might be an assassination attempt, decides to try it anyway, but just as he's about to cut off his hand to stop the poison, he feels a bit enlightened actually. Like he had been granted something. Of course, the first thing he tries, being a military-oriented man, is to create a harpoon, which turns into a harp by sheer accident. However, Akant isn't too worried. Or embarrassed. Don't worry, my first move was to try and blast things like I was a fire user and that didn't turn out. So, it is something I have to train, eh? Well, looks like this was very worthwhile. I'm afraid I'll still have to be a leader, but I will make time to improve. Akant is glad it went so well really. Another magic user. He thinks he'd probably need another, but no one else he can think of seems young or really oriented enough for that kind of thing. So, after he tells Ina the good news, he then, by the way, can you see? His answer was met by complete silence and even a slap in the face. I'd hate myself if I ever hurt anyone, as I am now. Oh. I don't want to disrespect you at all then. He could ask the carpenter village if they had someone, but then he remembered. All the people there are dead. Looks like he'll have to deal with only 2 magic users. Shiai's idea of experimenting with his ability was through live combat. Confident and always inventing new strategies, he decided to take on the last rebel village, the one that didn't get the memo. Alright men, I'll lead the charge. If I am downed, make sure to rescue me. I think I have a new idea. Shiai then, instinctively, makes the harp by thinking about a harpoon. It is a small one he can hold, and he has no idea what this thing even is. But, once he attempts to fiddle with the strings, light notes come out and strike where he's looking. What an interesting weapon. This'll do just fine. And so, he played the harp into battle, taking down men without killing them, and the arrow fire also significantly helped. Soon, the forces were utterly defeated, and even saw Shiai as a possible reincarnated god. He's quick to point out, though, that he isn't, and was just gifted something that let him do such a thing. Wouldn't I be a lot more unforgiving if I was a god? He did have a point, and so, that, seemingly, was the end of the rebel villages. However, as he leaves, it is revealed he was being watched the whole time, and, had he not had the light harp, they would have ambushed and had won for sure. So, instead of going with the plan, they regroup. When Shiai gets back, about 4 days later, he tells Akant of what the new weapon is capable of. He's quite impressed. Oh. You mean the harp? Ina told me it was an angel stereotype instrument. I like it. An instrument of war. Shiai seems to be quite proud. By the way, you seem to be able to travel as light and also fly in the light. It could be that everyone's applications of the same magic type are vastly different. Hey, you noticed that? Well, I guess you really will learn quickly. Why don't you try making something else? Oh, that's what I was going to try on this construct. Personally, I want to get that angel back, so this will feel nice. He then imagines a bow, except it's not the kind of bow he was expecting. What even is this? Perhaps a bow silly. Ina giggles. However, since Shiai had such luck with the harp, he might as well try using this thing as a weapon. Turns out it can stretch incredibly far, his entire length even, and feels lightweight. He then proceeds to throw the thing, and it seems to heat-seek the target, getting it multiple times before slicing the construct's arm off, and arriving straight back at his hand. I shouldn't be so disappointed in these things. What seem like useless objects are actually quite useful. Shia feels like it resonates with him somehow, actually. What if he ends out pulling the formerly long side end, and he finds himself with a shield? Perfect. Say, huntsman, why don't we go for a spar? Really? Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. But you must refrain from teleporting yourself. There's no way I can exactly keep up with that. They ready their stances, and Ina calls out the timer before they start. To Shia's surprise, the shield holds up incredibly well, surviving many strikes from a real, physical object like an axe. Shia then pulls out his harp and proceeds to play it in one hand. Except, when he does that, it seems to miss. It seems like Shia's battle knowledge fares well against the self-trained Akant, stepping over him, tripping him, even so, and the fight seemed to go in Shia's favor. But all of a sudden, his shield breaks due to wait, he can use the light speed on individual body parts to make the force that much stronger. Panicked, he then immediately jams his harp in Akant's face and wins the spar, violently. Shia wonders what the hell he just did. He then apologizes to Akant, who, well, doesn't blame him. It's military instinct, right? Yeah. Might be. But Shia doesn't really think so. Normally he'd try to hand to fight them off. But something so animalistic. After about a week of training for Shia, basically another 2 months, since he got very little free time, he's able to also blast. But what he was thinking of, while doing it, was a torch. Being confident he, with his new conscripts, could take them down, and unaware of the angel's true strength, urges Akant to join them in stopping the threat. I can't. It's a death sentence, if I don't at least teach you how to move as fast as I can. And if I die, Ina will be all alone again. And just when my offspring is about to be born. So, didn't you already lay the egg? The villagers will take care of it. You don't understand. Angels function entirely differently to us bliths. And what is your point? Shia, wondering where that even came from, excuses himself. He gets it. Not now. However, after that day, a bright new baby boy is born, and cleanly at that. Its eyes the color of a blith, its hair golden, already an unkempt long hair. And it was just sleeping. Like it had nothing to worry about. Once Akant saw inside Ina's living quarters, he was so happy. He didn't know how this felt, but this made him feel ways he couldn't even imagine. Ina snuggled it and let it suck on her nipple. Yet Akant, that's what they're for. I couldn't have even guessed that. Isn't he beautiful? Indeed he is. And my little sweetheart. For some reason, I want absolutely nothing bad to happen to him. He's not only the only family I got, but also a sign that you really did go through all that. Just so this miracle could happen. Women sure are strong, eh? If you are any example, yeah. However, Shia seems visibly angry that it turns out Akant's a parent now. This is absurd. Why would anyone ditch their own kind just to raise an offspring? Not even his father did that, and he was the softest blith he ever knew. Angered, he goes after a fallen angel, but is even more pissed when it doesn't even put up a fight. You know, there's no point anymore. After seeing Ale try to kill herself. And how brutal Numin really is. I don't think I can be around them anymore. What? But you're supposed to be monstrous, kill people, serve as one of my big accomplishments. Not anymore. If you can point me to where Valil and Ina are, that'd be very much appreciated. He, immediately realizing how selfish he's acting, points to it, and begins to apologize even more so. She smiles and then darts off. By the way, that paranoia of yours could be a second downfall. He thought. What the fuck was that supposed to mean? So, he sat out in the wilderness, alone, and had to collect himself. What's going on with him? He wasn't like this before, or nearly as bad. So why is he suddenly acting so disgusting? So, he can't even think of the word. That's how selfless blith people are. Akant spent the next month, instead of really training, raising a child. He went on walks with the angel he truly felt. He was meant to be her friend. Her smile, his smile, even the baby's milk, it was wonderful. On one of those walks. Hey, what do you think we should name the baby? Ina asks. Akant, not having thought of this, and showing his awkward side, blurts out in a blush. How about Akana? Gosh, that's so lazy, Akant pie. Besides, it's a boy, that's not going to work in any of our languages. She pouts. What about Inact? Sounds good, but I don't think he likes it. Of course, it does indeed find the name weird, having stopped cheering, as it had been. Just being slant and giving a face as if. Just why dad? And then, it cheers up, as it thinks of something. Mama. It's quote as only a week old and it can already talk. Ina's overjoyed. Oh gosh, you little sweetheart, I knew you could do it. That's daddy, for you. Well yeah, we kinda learn necessary stuff pretty fast, but then. Oh gosh, I forgot, what in the plains was your last name? Oh. Oh yeah. Saritha. How about Felinver? She thinks the name is great, and so does the baby, thinking it sounds cool. Yep, your new name is now Felinver Saritha, and I'm Akin Saritha. Wait, you'd go out of your way to adopt my surname? Well, of course, aren't we technically a married couple according to you? Maybe so, but. She begins to blush and imagine a marriage ceremony. Another great moment is when he first learned how to both walk and also talk, around 3 weeks old or so. Hey, look, he says. Akant and Ina come to look, and it seems like he's made a house out of branches and appears to be playing house with some of the local wildlife. They don't even seem to really mind. Wow, I never thought he could be so creative. All I did was haul stuff all over the place. Silly Akampai, you must have been really humble to enjoy a childhood like that. Say for yourself, sweetie, lots of other young ones had to do a lot worse. They both giggle, as they then bring Felinver his lunch. At 1 month old, he's now formally potty trained, though he did figure it out by watching his animal friends, and even though he is behind a lot of the other young ones in Bliff life skills, considering he's growing slower, he is doing great at being a mix of two cultures. Daddy, have you got food for us? He asks. Well yes, and it's your favorite. Fresh young fruit. Why? And he eats it no problem, even visibly enjoying it, and playing with the kitchen utensils like it's a Goliath. In the evening, he'd enjoy himself making fireworks out of his magic stars, and the whole village watched with awe, and his father being even more proud. At 1 month and 12 days old, he actually figured out who he wants to be in life. Someone who can help people like his dad, and be nice to everyone like his mom. Not a job, a goal. And that's the first thing he was ahead in compared to other Bliff children. Ina, after doing this, asks if the young Felinver has an angel form. Only for him to respond that this is his true form. Mommy, I never left it. It's always been the same. It seems like Bliff hybrids actually have their Bliff form as their true form, meaning that once Ina thinks, with the emotions of a human, mannerisms and power of an angel, and selflessness of a Bliff, he could very well be a prophecy all on his own, the perfect child. However, with one fireworks display the following day being extra bright, Akant and Ina are immediately concerned that the others saw it, and call Shia straight there as well. We can't possibly leave him here, where could he go? I don't know either. There's an enclave behind the last set of walls, where the Bliff farmer class is. If you take him there, there's a chance they might not be able to break through. Given how a new angel, hybrid or not, was born, they could attempt to use him as a weapon otherwise. And if that happened, I'd be pissed at myself. Akant mentions. Exactly. However, I'd like to let you know, through my recon team, that they know you destroyed the flower. That can't mean. It's only a matter of time, before they try to break down the walls anyway. Wait, if that's the chance, there is absolutely no way the wall will hold. Numin is stronger than even Ina trying to save us, and if that kind of power is held by any of them. Oh no. They realize that both of them would have to fight to prevent them from getting inside. What's even worse, I checked myself. There's Vatagia that exist there. We didn't wipe them out. Shaw nowhere safe for Felinver. Indeed. Horrified, Akant and Ina don't know what to do, having to leave their son like this. Ina has a way she can make sure Felinver is safe, but doing so will cost what little ability to fight she would ever have and possibly erase the beads. Akant, caring a lot more about the child than his own life, says to do it, and so she gets ready. One last fun playtime with Daddy and Mommy, before he has to leave them. They take him out into the forest, meeting all of his buddies, play all kinds of fun games, make sure to give him amazing meals. And, at the end, they tell him, hey Philly, Daddy and Mommy might have to go soon. Okay. But you might be taken to a nice place. A very good planet where at least something will think of you as one of their own. All the playmates in the world. Shaw played it. Yes. I played it. Akin says to his son, hugging him, secretly crying, as he does. His mom comes in to hug him too, before he is sent off, Felinver smiling at them, with toys and many beads to read, and they have no worries, as he is teleported away. Ina now isn't glowing at all. She lost her magic abilities by performing that miracle. They can't hold back how sad they are for not being able to ever see their son again. And they just hope whatever planet they sent him to isn't what they fear the most. But now they must make their final stand. Akin gets Ty, and tells him that it's been done. Good. Hopefully we can put down those menaces and have our people go back to how they were. And Akan takes them to the battlefield. It appears that Numin's already heading straight there, and they catch her while doing so. Oh. So there's two of them now? Army, tear down that wall. As they try to do so, it appears that Akant had taken an extra route while getting here, leaving a bow to cut off a majority of their heads, leaving no time for such. Shia seems impressed that strategy worked. Except, when they find out they were merely illusions made by Numin herself. Right. It seems like you haven't seen a true angel up close. We angels are, in fact, the entire fabric of holiness, created by God to serve Him. Magic is, in fact, our entire bloodstream. Instead of a heart, we are meant to be directly connected to our soul. So, you're going to lecture us now? Shia says. No, you'll see what I'm getting at later. Generally, because magic is our blood, our bodies can't physically be human, and the form you see me in is my restrained form. A form where I take on human-like biology to both limit myself and prevent psychological damage caused by, well, my appearance. Since mortals can't bear the holy magic of an angel, right? Exactly. Depending on the sins of the mortal, they are either blinded or entirely eviscerated, wiped out and instantly absorbed. What the hell are you getting at? Just, before you came here, I was in my true form, but since you have magic, it wouldn't affect you, but can you guess who it has? Shia and Akant then realize, that sick bastard. Making sure they can't see anything so they can kill without the slightest hint of anyone fighting back. How could you? After all you've been through, why go about it like this? Funny, you remind me of Ale. And God actually. Glad I killed her pathetic ass. And I'm going to be glad I'll be able to kill him in just a moment. She smirks with a very evil intention, even distorting her face a little. By the way, puny mortals, don't feel bad for what I'm doing, they're merely ants in a molehill, nothing compared to even a human. Nothing but subservient slaves that don't even know their own master, or their true enemy. Shia then looks, while hanging on to Akant, and they got inside. Akant, go after those angels, I'll handle the god complex one. If you say so. He drops him to the ground and heads off to fight the others, and also, a Blith force comes in to assist, riding Guliths. Akant finds that his theory about him fighting the weakest of them is actually correct, as he has trouble fending off all their hits, even in their restrained forms, and, if he were to fight them all alone, he'd lose. Badly. However, he finds that the harpoons catch a few off guard, and with that, he's able to chop the burgundy-haired one clean in vertical half, killing her, before she could transform, and also leaving an explosion trail, where he sliced. Immediately, he grabs the soul and absorbs it. Remember what Ina said about souls to him a bit earlier, he feels stronger. They then completely shatter the farms as well as kill many Bliths in an attempt to stop him from gaining or moving upwards anymore, but he completely disappears from their sight, distracting them enough so that a harpoon manned by a young one he saved could end up in one of their heads, killing another one of them and letting him take their soul. Seeing how a mortal managed to become so skilled and fast, they just stop before he arrives, standing in the air. So, now that I made my point, do you want to surrender? Because, if not, I will make sure you go straight to hell. And I know how much you hate it there. Two of them immediately surrender, letting themselves be tied, but it seems like Numin's right and left hand angels seemed infuriated, and they tell him to stop getting all coy if he wants to even survive. Soon, they both seemingly get a lot faster and begin to thrash Akant around. Meanwhile, Shia is desperately trying to hit Numin, but all he hits are illusions, as he's repeatedly forced to block hits, enough where the shield cracks by brute force, not something speedy. His harp skills have gotten better, but he can't get at all, until Numin feels so bad for him that, hey, how about a break? Lend whatever you want on me, and I won't do a thing till it finishes. Is she serious? Is she treating this like a game? Like he's her plaything? Extremely pissed, furious, and almost unable to breathe to having his honor stained, he thinks of death, and immediately, he brings out a giant version of himself, with angelic feathers, ready to slice this psycho bitch into a stew. And as he does so, he's laughing on how she shouldn't have let down her guard, as if he wouldn't take advantage of it. Until the sword breaks on contact with her breast. The swing having blown everything else away, Numin unfazed. Really? That's what you call your ultimate move? Even Lavina had better with her lightning soul trick, but then she's immediately slammed with a light bow to the face, knocking her down and causing a visible wound to her. Shia jumps down, and taunts her. I told you, you shouldn't underestimate me. That whole time you were fighting a clone and you didn't even notice. Extremely angry, she sends an arrow, seemingly stolen from Ale, straight to him, but on the recoil. Final trickery, is what I'll call this move. As he puts his hand out straight in front of her face, blasting her back towards a mountain. I don't know why you thought thinking attacking something taunting you was ever a good idea, especially when I can mimic your tricks, but better. You little shit. That hurt. That actually hurt. She, personally insulted, jumps off the ground, incinerating the ground in sheer molten magma, with only a platform for him to stand on. No more holding back or appeasing. If you die in the next 5 seconds, just know you brought this upon yourself, you disgusting mortal. Oh, sour are we? I didn't know you cared that much about a fair fight. She speeds so fast that any bluff would think she was standing still the whole time, but somehow, he's able to block every single one of her strikes with that bow. He waits until he figures out her style, then pulls out the harp and strikes her head on with notes, leaving her straight in the molten ground, burning her robes and only leaving enough to cover the parts. Didn't you know? I was firing microscopic beams in every imaginable direction, so, when you stopped, I knew exactly where you were. I thought you'd be using the same strategy, but I guess not. He says smugly. You think you're above the higher plane, you fucking ingrate? Not even close. I think you're a disappointment to any warrior angel out there. If all Amir Bluff has to do is wait for openings. Arrows fire everywhere, exploding, as hundreds of new memes all appear, making it seem like they are throwing rocks, but he finds the real one, outright blasting her with his shield, getting rid of her skirt and only her panties remaining of her bottom. However, he finds a stray arrow going behind him, getting him, and he has to blast the arrow out of him before it explodes. Well, you finally hit me. Aren't you glad? Of course I am. She says, as he smirks. Really? Because that's about to end. All of a sudden, 3 of her fingers are cut off, allowing him to escape and use the bow to ride the lava waves safely back to non-molten lands. That seemed to anger her to the point where she's not even visibly angry anymore, just impressed. Well, congratulations for being not only a lek, but a skilled fighter. Unfortunately, your bout of joy is about to end as well. The thing appears to break in half somehow, with her regenerating her flesh entirely once that half is gone. Funny how you think you are so smart, when, truth be told, you never had a chance in hell. At all. She says, as she immediately dashes him and pummels him repeatedly in the air, forcing him to use 2 bows to block, but she easily breaks through them, using her boobs as literal hammers, crushing his lower half and making him reel in pain, unable to get up. She then makes a point to use him as a soccer ball, kicking with her seemingly perfect clones up into the air, before a giant hand made of arrows, piercing the sky before it is visible, slams into him, exploding and causing what seems to be a nuclear explosion, blowing the whole wall up along with it. Now only half of himself, Numi doesn't feel like she's satisfied, and uses a miracle that costs absolutely nothing to her to make him able to regenerate to full health, only to rip him apart over and over and over again, even letting him free to desperately block repeated arrow fire. She's sadistic alright. He's forced to hold on, having the ground break all around him, even spilling more lava, only for one to curve and suddenly become a Numi clone and break him again. And, just as he seemingly lost all hope. Well, it was fun breaking you. Unfortunately, doing this any further would bore me. She then prepares another her to crush him. You have my permission to die now. But, just as the clone was about to finish him, Shia leaves an immense smirk, one of victory. And he was right, for a stray yellow that seemingly was thrown to this very spot took a direct hit on her torso. As she's reeling in pain, desperately trying to get it out, and only making it with half of her, forcing her to regenerate again. That's Ale, for you. Even the moment she was dying she was thinking ahead. She told me one day that she left an arrow in orbit, waiting for you to step on a very specific spot. To take you out. What? I knew I had no chance against you. You think I'd be stupid enough to go through with all of this without a plan? So, I did all that gloating to do one thing. Make you lose the ability to critically think. He spits out blood, seemingly to mock her. You were so distracted by a bluff that you didn't even notice that obvious trap. Or the reinforcements. Left at an absolute boiling point, she cuts Shia in half, letting him bleed out, while she heads straight there. Meanwhile, a bit before that moment, Akan was still struggling against the 2, even with the bluff military on their side supporting him, as they simply used the harpoon nets as boulder weapons to take more of them out. However, he began to notice that his flight skills were rather flawed. He made simple shapes and that's how they were able to react fast enough. he'd have to try something a little different if he'd want to bait them into trying to transform the shape of a gullet. And so, he jutted around, making seemingly a nonsensical pattern that the top angels couldn't follow. So, now that he can't fight, he's just going to cower without actually running away? You can't commit to even one strategy, you fool. Wait, watch out, Azarma. This very well could be a clever trap. I've never seen anyone do this maneuver before. And you haven't either. If we do something now, he'll use it as a chance to strike. Does it look like I care? Bliths are supposed to be a proud people, not cunning. Alright then, miss. Go ahead, see what happens. Upon saying that, Azarma doesn't do anything and listens to the black-haired one. His plan failed, and he seems exhausted, which they use to mop him along the farmland. Pretty cheerful in their victory against a magic user, Azarma thinks about if they should toy with him or play around. Actually, I'd say getting rid of him now would be the best decision you could make. Why so? Because then we can look for the flower. Immediately upon her saying that, Azarma gets stabbed with a light sword. His plan was never to attempt to disorient them, it'd be to make them focus on only him so whatever magic he used wouldn't be visible or noticed at all. This one is clever. Very well. Azarma, stand back. What? But you said I could kill Hai. This Akant fellow might make for a decent one-on-one fight. One where I can improve my abilities and reasoning. But why not just kill him now? It's a tradition for warrior angels to respect a worthy fighter, regardless of if they play cheap. I know Yomi doesn't follow those rules, but I have no orders to kill him on the spot, so why not use it as a learning opportunity? But besides, what if reinforcements come? Shouldn't you be transformed by now to prevent interference? Okay. Her superior does make a lot of sense. Guess she will. As she shows her true form, she significantly bulks up, spawning arms all over her left arm, and spikes all over her right, ripping the garbs she wore. On her face, she grows multiple red eyes all over her cheek, her hair becomes water, the skin blackens and eyes begin to form all over her muscular body. The legs become entire wings, made of metal. And finally, her mouth malforms into a terrifying combination of all predatory mammal life, all on one distinctly human appearance. Point. She has killed a lot to get that appearance. Alright. I will eliminate the interlopers. You focus on your fight. Make sure to have fun, Azarma. You too, Governor. All of a sudden, multiple muscular hands appear out of nowhere and smash up everything, smashing solidars left and right, and deflecting harpoons. She's playing with them in this form like they're toys. And she is flying on top of that, while the destruction and debris go everywhere. So, now that we don't have interferences, and most importantly, I don't feel like I should be holding back anymore. Do you have any final requests, Akant of the Blith people? No. Because I have plenty more to look forward to, after this. Oh. You have confidence you'll survive. Unfortunately, for you, I don't play with my opponents when no one else is around. She then dashes even faster than him and axe handles him into the ground, stepping on him, and as he gets away using light and slicing her foot apart, she ends up rotating her hands so incredibly fast, and spiral-like, that a black hole forms, and Akant has to get out of his light mode to avoid being sucked in, allowing for a swift kick upwards. However, as she stops spinning her hands, he has an opportunity to strike, landing, but only getting a minor scrape even with the light speed attack he used. He is then punched to the wall, and she waits for him to recover. I'd say that's 1-0. I shall wait for your move next. Why not attack me and be done with it? The loser always gets an advantage in angel tradition. Fair enough. Akant says, as he charges straight at her with a light-speed light sword, managing to make her have to dodge, but have her cleavage exposed, but she then rushes in and flip kicks him to the ground and launches a few nails she grows back at him, forcing him to dodge, before he tries to confusion trick again. However, it doesn't work at all this time, as she simply backhands him, spins her right hand to suck him inside the black hole, and shoots him out into a nearby hill, which he has to come back. 2-0 now. Any questions, before we proceed? Well yes, is that black hole thing a soul ability? Oh, I see Ina hasn't told you about that. She prepares herself. When angels become fallen, we can't use magic or miracles anymore, and in our weakened states, we can't use soul tricks either. That is exclusive to when our true forms come out. Then, what is it? It's an interesting martial art. Through mastery of the arm limbs, you are able to dislocate and rapidly heal them to spin. And once you reach a certain point, air and space cease to exist, forcing light and other embodiments of space into it. A martial art, what the heck even is that? Oh. You don't know what a martial art is either. I forgot you bliths focused on mastering what you had instead of looking for perfection. My bad. Shaw, you're the experimental type of the group. Of course. Experimenting with fighting is the way to become the best. Say, if I win this fight, will you stop killing in general? Agreeable terms. Though my allegiance to Lord Numin will not falter enough to make this term happen. You don't say. Akant then, out of nowhere, tries the technique, and ends up making a huge black hole, sucking everything in, including Gaviner, towards it. What? You are able to imitate my technique? I've been perfecting it for 100 years, and yet a magic using blith can mimic it to the same level? Well, I wouldn't say the same level. I do get hurt from it and I don't think my arms will work after this, but your philosophy resonated with me. She gets sucked in, then let out. She seems intrigued. So, I take the philosophical victory, while you take the physical one. I like it. Sounds agreeable to me. Well, it appears that I have underestimated mortals once again. I shall join Valil and Ina shortly, not for peace, but for warfare. I will also guide bliths to become as great as you. So that one day, we can have a rematch on more fair terms. I mean, I wouldn't have stood a chance against your full power, that's for sure. Actually, I have the same soul type and style as your light magic, that's how I was able to read your movements, though it disadvantages me due to myself becoming a huge target. So, in truth, I prefer to stay in this form. She then looks over and sees the destruction Azarma is making. You best work on defeating her. Even with those broken arms of yours. I shall stray from the fight, for I have won, yet I have lost. She then leaps out of the battlefield. Akant just being glad she wasn't savage like the others he had to fight. Until Azarma notices. Oh great, did she make a bet she lost again? Gosh, Gaviner and her honorable streak. Now I have to clean up this mess, and the traitors, before Lord Numin gets back. She then immediately targets the Tide Angels, only for Valil and the other angel to jump in and use their true forms to deflect the hand. Always the cheap type like your master, Azarma. The other notes. Oh crap. They both launched soul projectiles, lilies for Valil, and a telekinetic soul mace for the other, taking her down. However, Akant doesn't see the need to kill her, and it'd be a lot more fitting to leave her without a master, so, the two just force her back into her restrained form, lying there nude and unconscious. Wait a minute, we never took our clothes off, right? I didn't even know she was flat and putting pads in her outfit. No wonder she had anger problems. Hey, at least she's lucky enough to not worry about mortals looking at us funny. I will never understand why God made us this way. Agreed. Wait, he didn't make us like this, we chose those forms. But aren't our decisions somewhat tied to what God wants for us? I'm sure he programmed us to look like busty women while restrained on purpose. They, despite looking like giant eyes with metal wings and halos around them, argue about fate. Meanwhile, normal proportioned Ina looks at the battlefield, still in her restrained form, and at the village. Am I really the only one who's made normally? Then she hears. Normal is subjective, my angel companion. She hears, as an angel comes by and says hello. Basically, normal can be anything anyone wants it to be, so, there's not really a point into looking for a normal. But, if that's it, why do you? What you're truly thinking is how bizarre you are, which, you aren't. I was described, as a born genius at fighting. But, you never had much friends either, did you, Gaviner? You are indeed right. None of them really did, except Ale. But she had long passed. It's okay. I'll be here, for you. An angel of war and an angel of peace. Both in the same village, on the same planet, talking, as if we were humans. There truly is nothing more bizarre. Back at the battlefield, however, Numin plays no games and goes straight into her true form, charging through the gate and taking down both of the angels who defied her, and throw them both into their restrained forms, also nude. She then made sure to slam the other angels' heads in the dirt to knock them out too, so that there's no interference. And then she sees Azarma, also defeated. It seems like no one can do anything but me. She sighs angrily, and then uses her soul ability to compel Akant to tell her where in the field the Vatega is. And he tries hard to resist, but being weakened, tired, and mortal, he fails. Excellent. I think I'll give you a fine show before this whole planet turns to ashes. She kicks him away in case he does get out of it. Which she's right to do, as she picks up the whole flower. He's getting ready to knock it away, but he gets stabbed in the gut by her metal nails, then thrown away. This shall be the greatest moment in angel history. The angel to surpass all angels. Me. And all with this flower. She then eats it, shrinking down, but still much taller than a blyph or an angel, remaining in her true form, and somehow becoming even more eloquent, but savage. She merely laughs at all the power she's received. This is enough to engulf the solar system, no, entire galaxies. If this is how God feels, I sure do feel godly. And this is only a fraction of the power and miracle capacity I can receive from ingesting more. She continues to laugh in victory, and, as a test, flicks a finger-sized arrow straight into the closest planet to the star, blowing it up and causing an everlasting frozen escape, laughing even more so. Finally, no one can contest me, I can beat anyone. Anything. No one will ever best me again, and neither will God ever cast me out for killing my own kind ever again. But as she says this, her actions end up reversed entirely, with her watching, as it happens, the finger arrow returning to her, the unfreezing of everyone and life returning to how it was. What in the world? Is there still someone who could stop her? This should be impossible, she's the strongest there is. That there ever was. The most experienced and capable. How could this happen? And there she is, holding the flower, as if the events after that point had ever happened, and as Akent was about to be stabbed. But she remembers it, she knows it happened. Her train of thought is stopped when a dark-skinned complexioned man, with white hair, muscular, yet wise-looking, with an almighty aura around him, even greater than hers. God? Since when would you ever interfere in mortal affairs? You have seemed to be mistaken. 'Tis not a banishment, but a test to see, in the end, thou who cometh to my ways. Thou shalt not care who triumph, and you, Numin, former guardian of Blythia, can haveth all thy power you want. But in the end, if thou power cometh to decimate those not of your realm, and threaten that in which I make, thou shalt be eradicated and reincarnated. Wait, it was a huge misunderstanding. I can change, I swear. You already have your change. He says, as the doors of heaven and hell play in the stock time, everything passes, as Numin's whole self is disappearing, and no amount of regeneration, as strong as it is now, can even attempt to remedy it. She then fades entirely, being locked in a deep void, disintegrating into nothingness. Having done all that he came to do, he then heals the combatants, and then leaves. Finally resuming time once he returns to heaven. When it does, everyone just saw a bright flash of light, then they were fine. Valil is disturbed, she's even naked, and so is the other one. Azarma also wakes up, wondering what even happened, and is, just as shocked, only to see the others. Welp, this is it. Her life is over. She can no longer live how she wants. Wait, where'd Numin go? They all wondered, and they did not have an answer, only the flower she plucked. All the solitars who died before are still dead, but everyone else is now fine. Shia then comes immediately and, well, I don't know how you did it, but you saved us all. Well, gee. I didn't even really do much of anything other than convince one of them to live a peaceful life. Azarma hears this and, I think I wanna live somewhere far away. I'm too scared. Valil then rubs her tummy, and, hey Oya, you ready for some good food, now that we saved everyone? Yeah, why not? But first, I think we have to get some new clothes. Akent then tries to give all of them 3 petals each, but Shia quickly stops him from even getting the flower by knocking him away. Oh no, we are not finished yet. I only tolerated your naivety so far to ensure we had allies to defeat the threat, but now that it's taken care of, I plan to lead the Blyths into a golden age, an age of unbridled council power. He then points to the angels. And in order to do that, I must kill every last angel here. What, this is absurd, we want you to succeed, just as much as you want to. Do you think I care about what a giant animal who can talk thinks? The Confederation is all Blyth. No outsiders. Shia pulls out his bow. Shia, we don't have to fight over this, just let them go. They aren't going to be doing any harm. Right now. But what about in 10 years, 50 years, 100? There's going to be a point where they lose control and rampage again like all our efforts were wasted. Shia, listen to me. And have people die because of your naivety? No thanks. He then readies his stance, as his shield bashes Akent away. They know not to interfere, as this may decide the fate of Blyth hegemony. Akent then attempts to speed past him, but the light rays manage to catch him, as Shia keep brutally attacking him and throwing homing bows all over the place, having him be cut, as well as explosions, forcing Akent to bring out his sword to attempt to deflect them all, but eventually, one explodes and he's blown back. It seems like Shia has grown to the point where Akent's magic type actually is a hindrance to him. Shia knows every back end of what he's going to do and how to counter it. Soon, Akant is forced to deflect light beams with just his hands, attempting to get into close combat, where he has an advantage, but he realizes he had been fighting a clone once again, and is rammed again, only for the real Shai to throw a flag down and call an army of light soliders to his aid, which Akant is able to defeat, but the sheer amount of them becomes a problem, and he ends up getting pierced by a heat-seeking bow, while doing so. This isn't looking good at all. If he loses this fight, Shai wouldn't have learned a thing from Numin, and possibly drive the people into something much worse than what they fought against. So, he pushes his light bow into twice the light, managing to cut Shai, but then immediately runs out of magic after trying it. As he's counting his doom, he then remembers something Uya told him about the magic organ that mortals grow when they use magic. It regulates it so it's contained in one spot, able to be called on and not risk death or being possessed. But since the beads are gone and he's probably going to die anyway, ripping it out of him is the only chance he has at winning against a much more experienced foe. So, he cuts his flesh open and pulls it out, bleeding profusely. So, I guess you didn't expect this, huh? What are you doing, Akant? Are you trying to kill yourself just to protect your family? It was exactly what I was planning from the very start. But I had a feeling this would happen, so I didn't put my eggs in one basket. I saved this just for you, my elder. Consider it the greatest respect I can give. Shai is then immediately blitzed with no way of even seeing the threat, being knocked around, cut with a sword, even seemingly not being able to phase him at all, when he does catch him. What happened to his magic energy? It should run out of a long time ago. Shai, desperate to not lose and endanger his people, spreads his arms so wide, he actually breaks his bones to make a giant harp, and scatter it throughout the whole area, causing explosions everywhere. However, Akant remained unscathed from the onslaught. However, to Akant, he was losing all feeling in his body. He doesn't even know if he's hurting anymore from pushing this hard. He has to finish it now. He gets into the air, summons a massive light sword, being visible from space, while he bleeds from his chest hole and his mouth, and barely even able to see anymore. God Sword, Excalibrus, eradicate all evil and misintention from your path. What are you doing, Akant? You're going to kill yourself. Both Shai and Ina say at the same time. Ina can't bear to watch anymore, while Gaviner just smiles proudly. He truly died like a warrior in the end, his final attack greater than anything I could ever muster. What is he doing? Valiel just wonders in complete astonishment. The sword then swipes downward, Shai desperately trying to prevent himself from faltering and letting it break, but then it goes through the bow shield, getting him straight on and causing immense anguish to him. However, the attack actually made a whole ring of life around the entire planet. And, once the attack faded, Shai felt really different. He finally understood what Akant truly wanted. During a childhood flashback, Ty got of Akant. Dad. All I want to do in this world is serve the Confederation. Well, that's great, son. Any idea of how? When I get respected enough as a hunter, I'll make sure that no one will have to stay in their class anymore. They can go to whatever they want, to whatever they need. And that goes to anything that can speak Blith as well. Son, there's never going to be Bliths but us Bliths. He. Go to your room, son. And Ty, for the first time, also cried, but a happy crying. He wanted me to know that memory. So, instead of affecting me like the beautiful forest he made around these lands, as Akant's lifeless body fell down to the ground and splattered into a million pieces, Shai, now knowing what he had to do, smiled. He smiled at the angels and offered the same petals Akant was going to, and they all became his size. As a great apology, Azarma uses her miracle to remove all thoughts of Numin, in exchange to repair both walls and the farmland to how they were. Shai, then later, meets with Gaviner. Hey, I heard you're the angel Akant thought. Indeed. He was a formidable foe. Take these 3 petals, and I think I want you to formally marry me. I don't care about that stuff, but as a token of respect, for even being able to stand against my former leader, I shall. After she eats it, they take hands and walk into the evening Sunday. The Confederation was that of Holy Blith, and Blith. The angels who remained were declared redeemed heroes, and Ina as a just, absolute monarch. The only one in history, as she called for it to be dismantled upon her eventual death from old age. In that period, technologically rapidly advanced, as angels spoke of technologies they saw elsewhere, the people rejoiced, and the council was even more respected, as a union between the two species. But there's one thing we are forgetting. In a constantly cloudy area, somewhere on Earth, Fellenver plays by himself, when a little girl, seemingly drenched from all the swimming she's done. But not looking like a little girl either. Oh hello there. Oh. Hey. She kinda has trouble talking. Hey, what's the matter? Oh nothing. You're just the first person I met in years. Say, where do you come from? Oh, my home. It was nice and stuff, filled with rocks and playthings, but mommy and daddy sent me here. And it's been fun so far. You think they'll come back? I hope so. But I'm fine, even if they don't come, since I'm their sweet boy. Well, I'm not one to judge. She thinks about telling him what happened to where she called home, but no, he's too innocent. What is he, even younger than she was, when she... What happened to all the people here? Oh. They went on some sweet party, filled with balloons and stuff. Can I join? Well, it is a fair bit away and I'm feeling a bit in the mood for some playtime, so... They then sit together and talk. Eventually, one of those was, hey, you ever think a time machine would be cool to make? Really? I think about it all the time. I want to see what people did in the past. The birds are fun and all to play with, but I kinda wanna explore. You just thought of it, didn't you? Okay fine, I did, but it's still cool. By any chance do you want to go looking for stuff we might need to make one? Maybe you can talk to them about the eventual future. The future? Huh? Oh. I know we just met and all, but I'll tell you later, okay? Sure. They then get the materials, over a few days, and the girl diving into the water to get the materials, then fixing them, needed for the girl to assemble the time machine, and shockingly, even the birds helped. This weird yellow-haired kid must sure be good at this stuff. Wow, you were able to hold your breath for so long? I can only manage a few minutes. Fellenver. We have to talk. I'm the only human left. I lied to you about a big party. It's okay. I mean, it's not like much secrets could be kept from me for long anyway. I know you were looking out for me and not wanting to hurt my feelings, so I went along with it. Wait, you knew this whole time? Well, if people had been here, surely things wouldn't be so warm on this planet. Or that much underwater. You can see the rest of the planet? Yeah. But it's not a problem. All I have to do is go back in time, stop whatever is happening, and then everything will be fixed again? Yeah, that's the idea. Okie dokie. Once Fellenver got in the time machine, the girl waved, and pressed a button, sending him and the machine off into 1000 BC. She, after his brief impression of him, could probably handle such a thing, being a kid, and smart, and gifted. Right? So she waited. And waited. And waited. For months. Nothing happened. Not even a slight change of grass. Something had to have gone horribly wrong, but she, the girl, Chera, unknowingly sent Fellenver to his death. He was hung for being an agent of the deceit god, despite everything he told them, how nice he was, how forgiving he was. Bliths and angels weren't so mean, so why do these humans have to do this to him? Why? Why couldn't mommy and daddy save him? He cried, as he suffocated. Until he figured it out. Humans are nothing more than selfish creatures. He was killed not because they didn't believe him, but because of what would have happened if they listened. Sin. And that's what he saw and heard, as they were sure he was dead. They wished to just keep order. Not morals, not freeing people, order. To them, he was nothing but a pawn in their small-scale plans to control people. And he realized something else. His parents must be dead. That's the only reason they didn't come back, or come with him. They died. Those other angels killed them all. But then they noticed he was still alive, having a much stiffer neck, so they shot an arrow through the neck, asphyxiating him, and the only two things he could think. No one loves him anymore and how much he wished Chera could be his friend. Chera never found him in any of the timelines. And so, when he was erased, he only felt even more despair and constant mental and physical pain. And his soul would never disappear either. It had just reset itself to the corrupted state it had when he died. He lost his mind, his knowledge, with only one directive stuck in his mind. Kill everything. Nothing deserves to exist. And so, when he was somehow brought back to the living world, in a small town, eventually, without explanation, instead of looking at himself or trying to remember, senseless destruction was his mind. And it always would be. No matter how hard even the blessed tried,